This photograph is 11 years old. Every pixel in it has been public that entire time. The discovery inside it is 3 weeks old. Nothing new was launched, nothing new was measured. Somebody simply went back and read a picture we already had, properly, for the first time. That picture took 9.5 years to get. A spacecraft the size of a grand piano left Earth in 2006, faster than anything humans have ever launched, and on the 14th of July, 2015, it passed Pluto at 12,500 kilometers. One pass, there was never going to be a second one. It was moving so fast that it had less than half an hour to photograph an entire world. Then it spent 15 months whispering the results home at 1 to 4 kilobits a second. Nobody expected much. Pluto sits 40 times farther from the Sun than we do. There is a moment near sunset on Earth when the light is exactly as bright as noon on Pluto. That is a world you assume is finished. A dead ball of frozen gas, shot at for 4.5 billion years, doing precisely nothing. What came back was a heart. The left lobe of that heart is called Sputnik Planitia. A basin, a few kilometers lower than the ground around it, filled to the brim with nitrogen ice. 1 million square kilometers. Larger than Texas and Oklahoma put together. And there is not one impact crater on it. Not a single one, anywhere on that plain. One step to the right, outside the basin, the craters are there. Charon, the moon next door, is covered in them. Same bombardment, same age. One surface keeps the scars. The other does not have a mark on it, which means that ground is new. Probably less than 1 million years old. Parts of it younger than our species, and something down there is still remaking it. Look closer, and the plane is divided into polygons, tens of kilometers across, packed like cells. The leading model says convection, nitrogen ice warm enough at depth to turn over, the way thick soup moves before it boils, except each cell is the size of a city, and one turn takes 500,000 years. There are glaciers flowing off the highlands, and blue haze 200 kilometers above the surface. The whole plane is breathing on a seasonal cycle, all of it visible in the 2015 pictures, in a public archive ever since. In July of 2026, Alan Stern, the man who runs that mission, went back with his team to the frames of the plane's northern edge. No new data. The same pictures, looked at properly, and the boundaries between those convection cells are wrong. They are darkened, sharp along one side, diffuse on the other, like a spill that had a direction. There are long, narrow dark lines. The low ground between cells is filled in dark, following the shape of the terrain. None of that comes out of the processes anyone had on the list. Their explanation is that liquid nitrogen is coming up from underneath the glacier. Here is the mechanism. The bottom of an ice sheet several kilometers thick sits under real pressure, and Pluto's interior is still leaking heat upward. Melt the base of that sheet, and you have liquid nitrogen trapped under a lid of ice. It finds a crack, it rises, and it has to win a race, because the ice above is colder than the melt, and freezing shut on the way up is the likeliest outcome. If it survives the climb, it spreads out on a surface at 40 Kelvin, runs downhill into the low ground between the cells, and freezes there, which is exactly the pattern in the picture, sharp on the upstream side, diffuse where it spread, dark in every low place it could reach. The paper's own words are, "We hypothesize," and "may be explained." This is not a photograph of a river. It is a stain, and only a liquid leaves that kind of stain. Now sit with the temperature, because it is doing something strange to the word liquid. That ice sits around 40 Kelvin, minus 233 degrees Celsius. On Earth, liquid nitrogen is the stuff that shatters a flower into pieces on a bench. On Pluto, it is warm enough to work like groundwater. We do know cold worlds that stay active. Europa, cracked open and resurfaced. Enceladus, firing plumes out of its south pole hard enough to build one of Saturn's rings. But both of them have an alibi, a giant planet next door, pulling them out of shape on every orbit and letting them snap back, heating the inside for free. Pluto has no giant. Charon is half its diameter, close enough that the two of them orbit a point in empty space between them, but they are locked, face to face, permanently. Nothing is being needed, so the heat has to be Pluto's own, left over from building the thing, plus radioactive decay in a rocky core, still seeping out after 4.5 billion years. Under ice that cold, a trickle is enough. Being geologically alive, it turns out, is not a privilege of the inner planets, or of the moons that live next to giants. There is a much bigger claim available here, and they did not make it. For years, one line of work has argued that Pluto holds an ocean of liquid water under 40 to 80 kilometers of ice. Notice what the new paper says, and what it refuses to say. Nitrogen, not water. A different substance, from a much shallower depth, with far less writing on it. That restraint is why the result is worth your attention. No other region on Pluto shows this pattern. Not one. More than half of Pluto has never been mapped at high resolution. The far side was turned away when the only camera we ever sent went past. New Horizons leaves the Kuiper Belt around 2028. It is not coming back. Nothing else is going. So the pictures from 2015 are the entire high-resolution record of Pluto our species owns and will own for decades. Every discovery left on that world has to come out of frames already in an archive, waiting for somebody to look again. Meanwhile, the object itself has an atmosphere, blue skies, seasons, glaciers that flow, ground that turns over like soup on a stove, and now possibly liquid rising through the cracks. We are still arguing about what to call it.